Hello, this is Taylor from Discomfort Films. I just recorded this whole thing for the second time, and I just realized that I forgot to open Audacity and record the audio with my good microphone, so I am very sorry if this sounds like shit, but I'm so tired. I'm not doing this shit a third time. Oopsies. Hello, this is my second time doing my Blu-ray collection update video. I already had this all recorded. I hadn't started editing yet, but then I unwisely decided to do a bunch of driver updates at the same time, and my desktop got like completely bricked. Like I couldn't use like the system restore or anything, but thankfully I got it fixed now. It had to be wiped, but thankfully I managed to re-download all my important programs and stuff, and I have most of my important files and writing on like OneDrive and stuff like that, so it wasn't as big a deal, thankfully. So I got quite a bit of stuff to go over here, and I took advantage of a couple sales, so yeah, I had quite a bit to show off this time, so I'm just gonna jump right into it. I'm gonna get through like my miscellaneous stuff first, and then go through like a couple of the labels after. So the first up is this very nice steelbook for Jordan Peele's Nope. It's got a very neat cover there. If you've seen the movie, you'll recognize it. And it's got the TMZ guy on the back. But yeah, this is probably my favorite movie of 2022, and I wanted a nicer version of it than kind of the bare bones basic Blu-ray that comes out. And I found a couple of these from the States on eBay, because I think it's a Best Buy exclusive, and they were like $80 or $90 Canadian or something, and then I found it on the Best Buy Canada website for like $50, so that was really exciting. And it only really has like one substantial like hour-long behind-the-scenes documentary, but it's pretty great. Watching it, I was personally surprised at how many of the sets were just built from scratch. There's also a cool feature about the creation of the Alien, which I also mentioned in my Best of 2022 video, as being like one of my favorite cinematic aliens in recent memory. And apparently the scientific consultant wrote like a whole taxonomical paper on the alien for accuracy, and I really wish they'd release that shit. Next up is another steelbook. I haven't taken out the package yet. This is Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. I don't care what anyone says, I love this movie. It's just so extra. It's got Gary Oldman, it's got like the insane like production and costume design, it's got monster fucking. It's everything you could ever want in a Dracula movie. It's another one of my favorites. This is Into the Spider-Verse. I'm really excited about the sequel coming out this year, I think it is. Yeah, not much I can say about it that hasn't already been said, but it's a great film. Probably one of the best animated films in recent years, and has been pretty influential, even like in the handful of years it's been out. And this is Midsommar on 4K. I really love the slipcover art on this one, but unfortunately it is an extremely like bare bones release as far as features go. Like, fuck, I just dropped my phone. Anyway, it's just like one dinky little featurette and an ad for some bullshit on the A24 store. But yeah, I did already have the special edition director's cut version of the Blu-ray, which is a really beautiful release, but I always wanted one of just the regular theatrical version as well, so that's why I picked that up. And this is another one of my favorite movies of 2022. This is Pearl. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet, but this seems to be another extremely bare bones release. Look at this. Featurette. Singular, not even plural. Anyway, just a regular edition of City of the Living Dead, which I talked about recently on my channel. And this is another one I was really excited about. This is Martyrs from Umbrella releasing. One of my favorite movies, and I was really excited to pick this up on Blu-ray since I've only ever had the DVD. It's mostly like old features that have been on previous releases, but there's a couple of new things as well, including a commentary by Dr. Lindsay Hallam. When I was checking out this release, I just watched it with the commentary because, to be honest, I was kind of depressed and like was not in a good state of mind to watch this movie like unfiltered. And yeah, it was a really well done commentary. Like, I learned some things I didn't know, and there wasn't any dead air. She was a very good speaker, so yeah. Definitely check that out if you like the film. And this is another horror classic. This is Dario Argento's Suspiria. Honestly, not my favorite movie of his, but I do like it a lot. It's got like some really great Technicolor, nightmarish imagery, and it has to have like one of the best opening kills of all time. And this one is I have watched this like once before, but I don't remember that much about it, and to be honest, this was kind of an impulse buy, so I'm excited to check it out. It has this really interesting like first-person camera type perspective, even though it's not like a straight-up found footage film. And the lead performance of the killer is really great as well, so I'm eager to check this out again because I do remember liking this. And then this one, this was secondhand. It is Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Speaking of serial killers, this is probably like one of the best serial killer movies ever made. It has like this really gritty like realism to it, and the main performances are great as well. Fan Expo Vancouver came to town a couple weeks ago, and I actually met Michael Rooker at the autograph booth and got him to sign a poster print for this movie, which was really cool. The original run for like this print of the poster actually is apparently super rare. They only made like 200 of them before they discontinued it. And mine definitely isn't one of the originals. It is a reprint, but it's still like a great illustration. It's really gnarly and has this really unique style, so yeah, very cool. This one's another secondhand one. It's another one for the Disney collection. It's Aladdin. I didn't watch this as much growing up as a kid like I did with The Lion King or Bambi or any of those, but I still like it a lot. Like, Robin Williams is still awesome and I love the music. This is my very first purchase from Sloppy Seconds sale. I've wanted to buy something from them for a really long time, but just didn't jump on it until recently because they had this limited edition run of another one of my favorite films from 2022. This is Barbarian, which unfortunately still does not have an official physical media release because Disney. Which, along with like the bare bones releases, is another trend I absolutely fucking hate. Barbarian was actually lucky enough to get a theatrical release, but these days they just like shart so many of these out on streaming services and then just never give them a physical release, and then if you're unlucky they'll decide to cut like the dollars of licensing fees it costs and just cut it from their service, so now there is no legal way to watch it. But I actually remember reading a news article recently that the CEO of Disney, Bob Iger, I think, was discussing how they wanted to move back into the physical media market. So that's something that's really promising. Hopefully this will get an official release at some point, but until then, I have this one. And I didn't rewatch the whole thing on this disc, I just like kind of skimmed through it to see what it looks like, and it looks pretty good. Like, there is some like crushed blacks in the basement scenes, but like I said, like none of these like Sloppy Seconds things are perfect, but they are like very inexpensive bootlegs, so you get what you pay for, and they provide like an important service, giving physical releases to things that don't have them or are extremely rare. And my next purchase from Sloppy Seconds is the Guinea Pig collection. This is one of the ones I've had my eyes on for a while. It includes all the official films. Mermaid in a Manhole is my favorite by a wide margin. I think even if you're not into like gore films or underground horror or anything like that, I think there's some legitimately like great qualities to it from like a thematic and storytelling standpoint. And it is also very gross, so it has the best of both worlds, is what I'm saying. Yeah, even though I'd only watched like a handful of these, including the American ones, more than once, if I'm not making a video on it, it's still a very historically important series for underground horror. The most infamous film in the series is definitely Flower of Flesh and Blood, and that's actually my second favorite. And based on what you like hear about these movies, you'd think they were all like pseudo-snuff films, but only like the first two of these are. The rest is like He Never Dies and Devil Woman Doctor are like horror or like splatter comedies almost. Android of Notre Dame is like kind of sci-fi and very boring in my opinion, and Mermaid in a Manhole is like this dark body horror fantasy. So the tone and genre is definitely more varied than you would expect if you're just going into it. And I'm hoping the American series will experiment a little bit more with that in the future as well. I mean, yeah, some pretty important films in here, and I'm happy to have this. And the last one from Sloppy Seconds, this is Star Wars Grindhouse. Initially, I was gonna go for a physical version of the despecialized editions, which are fan-made edits of the original trilogy with all the special editions that were made later removed. And some of them are really well done, like some of them you get close to like Blu-ray quality on, which is cool considering I think the only like, so I remember they did these I actually have them. They're the old DVD releases that have both the theatrical and the special editions, and the theatrical editions on those discs just look like shit compared to the special editions. So yeah, it's pretty impressive what some of these fan edits are able to do, but this is not the despecialized edition. I couldn't find much information about this online, but from my understanding, it's basically bare bones transfers from 35mm theatrical prints, which gives it this really like kind of gritty, grainy look that you would expect from an old film reel, which, to be honest, is like a really interesting way to watch these films because this franchise is so ubiquitous in pop culture, and all the content coming out for it now is just so polished and everything, so it's really neat to watch the movies this way and remember where they came from, I guess. A New Hope is definitely the best looking of the three by far. It has like by far the least particles and little like lines and affects on the screen, while Empire and Jedi are a lot rougher. And while the particles and stuff like that are very noticeable on the latter two films, they weren't bad enough to affect my enjoyment of it at all. But your mileage may vary. If you're looking for a more standard, like baseline original Star Wars experience, I would definitely recommend seeking out the more polished, despecialized versions. But yeah, it was a cool experience watching the films this way, and like I said, I couldn't find much about it online, so that makes it kind of a unique thing to have. These were from a Criterion sale. The first one up is Watership Down, a really great animated film. Watching some of the bonus features on this, it's really cool to see like how passionate the filmmakers were about this movie. Like the director, he had no background in animation at all, but he decided to get into it and learn about it because he loved the novel and knew that this was the best way to tell the story, so that's really neat. And yeah, the animation is not as technically polished as something out of Disney or whatever, but the backgrounds are really nice, and I love the stylistic changes between like the main story and the flashback sequences and like the little creation story at the beginning. I love the artwork on the disc as well. This is Frith from the opening scene, and yeah, just the artwork on this release is great. And this is another one of my all-time favorites. This is, of course, Silence of the Lambs, a long overdue upgrade from the basic Blu-ray I had before. This is such a well-constructed film on every level. It's got two of the best fictional serial killers ever put to film, and it's a great adaptation of the novel and has like one of the most insanely great and suspenseful third acts ever, probably. And this is a pretty substantial release. It's got 2 discs. This isn't the 4K, this is just the Blu-ray, by the way. Quite a lot of it is like grandfathered in from other releases, but they're still pretty cool. One of my favorite things on here was one with like real FBI agents talking about some of the real true crime influences on the killers in the film, which is something I'm really interested in, so yeah, that was of particular interest to me. And this one I watched for the first time last year and really loved it. This is Amores Perros. I think this is actually Inarritu's first feature, and I don't remember off the top of my head, but if that is the case, this has got to be like one of the strongest first features of all time. And this one was released in 2020, so the new interviews are conducted over a Zoom call, which I honestly didn't mind because it gave it like a more like relaxed, informal feel compared to what you would normally see on one of these things. And there's also a video essay about the effect that this movie had on the Mexican film industry, which I found pretty interesting. And this is the last Criterion, another one of my favorites. This is Blue Velvet. It's hard to pick a single favorite for this director, but this has got to be like one of my favorite David Lynch movies, although I love Inland Empire and Eraserhead as well. And again, there is a ton of supplementary material on this one. Some of it from older releases. There's actually 2 different behind-the-scenes documentaries. One is a lot more straightforward and has interview with the cast and crew and everything. But the other one takes like a totally different approach. It's very like meditative and experimental. And I thought it was neat to watch them both and compare them. So yes, another great Criterion release. This is the last of it. This is the Vinegar Syndrome Black Friday stuff. First up is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 with this gorgeous cover art. Then you got the original Breakfast Club, I think, parody poster art on the inside, which is really great. You got this on the back. So yeah, this is a great looking release. I love like all the different cover arts so much, like the new and the old stuff. This one has 3 discs. There's the 4K, the Blu-ray main feature, and another Blu-ray for the bonus features. And again, this one is very substantial. It's got, from what I can tell, it's mostly just stuff from older releases again, but it's nice to have it all in one place. And there's a good hour-long behind-the-scenes documentary, and there's also several smaller featurettes, like with interviews with different members of the cast and crew. There's actually kind of a funny story regarding the next ones, but I'd say this was a blind buy because I still haven't seen this film, but I didn't actually buy it. This is Alleluia from, I think it was released in 2014, and I think it's another serial killer movie based on true events, so this is definitely something I'm interested in checking out once I get a chance. And yeah, I didn't actually buy this one because on my initial order, I ordered the Rudy Ray Moore box set with all the Blu-rays included. But when it arrived and I opened it, I realized I had the Rudy Ray Moore box, but instead of the Rudy Ray Moore films inside, there were 4 copies of Spookies, which was kind of annoying, but it was also really funny. Thankfully, Vinegar Syndrome's customer service got back to me right away and shipped out the replacements basically as soon as I let them know about the issue. And they also included these 2 things with the replacement discs, which was really nice. I haven't seen either of them yet, but they're both like a bit relevant to my interests. Like I said, I already discussed this one a little bit, and this is a DVD. It's Super Soul Brother, and I don't know a lot about this, but from what I can tell, it's a Dolomite knockoff, which sounds interesting. And then the very last thing is the biggest one. It's the Films of Rudy Ray Moore box set from Vinegar Syndrome. It includes all the Dolomite movies, Dolomite, The Human Tornado, Disco Godfather, and Petey Wheatstraw. The only one I haven't seen is Disco Godfather, and I've heard, like, kind of mixed things about it, but everyone I've talked to who's seen it said it's pretty crazy, so I'm looking forward to checking it out at one point. So yeah, these are the discs. Got Dolomite, Human Tornado, Disco Godfather, and Petey Wheatstraw. My favorite out of the ones I've seen is definitely Petey Wheatstraw. It's almost this like horror comedy. I like the new cover art, but if you're not a fan, it also includes the original poster art on the reverse side of the slips. So yeah, I finally started getting into Rudy Ray Moore films like when the lockdowns first started, and I was falling down the Tubi rabbit hole because they have quite a few like classic blaxploitation films on there. They have like a great library if you know like how to look for it. And he's one of those, like, comedians that more or less plays the same character in everything, but he's so damn funny, and the movies have this, like, really charming DIY energy about them. And the plots are kind of loose. It just feels like a series of things happening, which would irritate me in a lesser movie, but here it's just, like, very much part of the appeal. I haven't had a chance to dig into these yet, so I can't say a lot about the bonus features, but they seem to be pretty decent. There's a multi-part documentary that's spread across like each disc called I, Dolomite. I don't know if it just covers Dolomite or if it's Rudy Ray Moore's entire career, but that's definitely something I'd be interested in checking out at some point. And there's also different commentaries for each film, and some of them even have like alternate audio tracks. So yeah, I'm really happy to have this with the correct films this time. So yeah, that is my Blu-ray collection update for March 2023. Thank you so much for taking the time to check this out and being patient while I got my computer shit sorted. As an aside, I would also like to thank everyone who took the time to check out my Gates of Hell video that I uploaded a week or so ago. I got way more views and comments than I normally get on my uploads, so I figured the algorithm must have picked it up, which is really nice for a change. Like, I'm an extremely small channel, so like I do this out of passion and knowledge for the films I cover and not clicks. But I would be lying if I said that positive engagement wasn't a motivating factor for me or didn't make me feel rewarded, and not like I was just like shoving shit out into the void. So again, thank you so much to everyone who took the time to check that out and give your feedback. So yeah, my next scripted video will most likely be on Necromantic 1 and 2. I'm also working on one for Skinamarink, but I've lost a bit of the passion for that one because it feels like every horror YouTuber and their grandma has already covered that film. But still, I really dug that movie, and I think the reactions and like different interpretations people have are interesting, so that's still something I would like to dive into. But more likely than not, the Necromantic video is going to come first. It's still in the very early stages of scripting, so I can't give a ETA on that. Again, thank you so much for watching. This is Taylor from Discomfort Films, and have a great day.